Okay, hi, welcome to Hang Out with Her World. Today we have Dato Dr Arunan, divorce lawyer and turned author of Saving Your Marriage. We have Dr Anjli here, who's a former Deputy Director General of LPPKN. And we have child psychologist Katyana. She's one of our go-to child experts. So today we're just gonna hang out, have some tea. Thank you, Le Meridian, for the space. We're gonna have some tea and talk about divorce and children. I think that's something that a lot of people, like it or not, have to deal with, and it's. I think it's important, Dr. Arunan, right, to really understand from a child's perspective, from what happens in the sort of legal aspect, and then from the family aspect as well. So we have one more guest. She's on the way. We have celebrity mom Dynas, who's a divorcee. So that's the reason why she's sharing her story with us as well today. So I think I'm just going to start with the first question, but since Dato is here, we can ask him the first question. From your experience, Dato, when couples decide to get divorced, what should they take into account when they have kids? What is the key things that they have to take into account?
The paramount consideration is always the kids. They should look at what is best for the kids' interests, because sometimes it can affect the kids psychologically, can really traumatize them. So they have to look at the welfare of the kids, how the kids are going to move on from here, how they're going to tell the kids the encouragement, how they're going to spend time with the kids, because from having a whole family, it's going to go to half.
Yeah. And
how are they going to relate this to the children? And at the end of the day, the children must feel that they are loved. They must feel very secure, and how they're going to pass this message to the children, and for them to have confidence and to continue from there. So that's how they do it.
So, like, from your experience, how do parents handle that when they decide? Like, from your experience dealing with a lot of couples that go through divorce, what goes through their mind when parents decide?
Sadly to say that lots of parents these days, sometimes they think they have their own problems, and they try to see how
so
it's
me.
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes they use children as instruments to get what they want. So that's a sad part, because at the end of the day, children suffer.
Yeah.
You see, so sometimes if the father is entitled to access, they do not give the father the access, and they say, no, pay more money, maintenance, we want more.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, the children suffer. So that has got nothing to do. The payment, of course, the mother wants the money, but at the same time, the father wants the access. So there are a lot of couples who are also, they talk to each other well, they can really reason out, and things happen, very smoothly and gradually. So I think that's what they should do, and minimize the fights in front of the children.
Right, I read that in your book, yeah.
So that's the worst thing, because once you have that, the children are in an environment where they see fights take place. So they think it's okay to fight, and then they see the parents lie, it's okay to lie, and they grow in this kind of environment, and that's how it's going to affect them at a later point.
Do you have what's your comment about that? Like, what do you think parents should actually, like, when I think, like Dato said, when parents decide, it's always they're looking at their issue.
Yeah. I think I have to thoroughly agree with Dato in a sense where divorce is a very grown-up thing that's happening to very little people. So the kids are essentially often victims of circumstance. They are being put into a situation where their parents have decided it's no longer healthy to be in a relationship. And a lot of the times when parents come to the point where they decide to dissolve a marriage, it's not something that people often come to lightly. And so it is definitely something that is, going to be shaking the foundation of what the kids know. And unfortunately, like Dato says, a lot of the time parents fail to identify, or at least they don't prioritize the fact that this is something that two grown-ups decided to do, and little children are having to acclimatize to. So one thing that I often tell the parents of the children who who come to see me is that it is very important for the children to understand that though this is a decision by the grown-ups in the household to separate, that it doesn't affect or it doesn't alter the fact that these two people are still your parents, and that we are still going to love you and care for you.
Yeah.
And in that respect, nothing's going to change. One parent may no longer live at home, but the fact that mommy is still mommy, daddy is still daddy, has to be something that parents have to reinforce. And so
Right.
again, arguing in front of the children, using children as instruments to get what you want is something that happens more often than we would like, and often at the detriment of the children. So I often tell parents that as much as possible, try to remember that these kids are along for the ride. You know,
Yeah.
they are often too young to understand. Tell any child, okay, one parent's gonna go and not stay here anymore. It's pretty traumatizing for the children. So try to put your anger and your whatever issues that led to the divorce aside, at least for the particular instance of having to communicate this for your children. So that seems to be the thing that I find quite often.
Yeah.
If I may just add
Yeah.
there, the children sometimes they tend to feel guilty and they blame themselves for the divorce
Yeah.
because they don't know, they're innocent. So they think they are the cause for it. So that's the other thing, you must give them some kind of reinforcement and
And reassurance, right? Yeah.
to tell them that it's nothing to do with you. It's it's our issue and we will sort it
Do
out.
you see a lot of that? Have you seen a lot of that too,
Yeah,
Dr.
I
Anjli?
think there is a growing trend of people separating. We have to accept that reality. In the past, at one time, they had, they call it the 7-year itch and all that. But now the itch is becoming a shorter
Yeah,
span.
shorter,
5
shorter.
years, 3 years, and all that.
Wasn't it a 10-year thing? No, it's not a 10-year.
10, 7,
Okay.
5.
Yeah.
And now I think even before we go to this people getting married, I would really advocate pre-marriage programs.
Right,
To strengthen the couple relationship, their communication patterns, relationship, and all that before they go into marriage. So prevention is always better than cure. And it's okay if, let's say, they get married and all that. And I think some have compulsory programs. Muslim couples
Yeah.
go through. The churches have that, and we should advocate the importance of these
Pre-marriage
programs as well. And then coming back to this issue of divorce, definitely we see a growing trend. More and more people are getting separated and all that. But I would definitely agree with my two friends. But the other thing which is very important is sometimes is what kind of family dynamics or the functioning in the family is also very important to look at. You don't have, if you just stay together for the sake of your child, but there's conflict, there's violence, there's abuse and all that.
And they're witnessing
And they're
that.
looking
Yeah.
at it, and
Yeah.
you are supposed to be the best role model for them. And perhaps we cannot just look at family structure per se.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you come from a 2-parent family, you will have better well-being, more holistic development, etc., compared to a child who comes from a single-parent family.
Right.
So that's equally important. And as you said, that you must remember, once your couple relationship may end, but once a parent, forever a parent. You have to
True.
always remember that,
Yeah.
and take into consideration the best interest of the child. I know if you're in a high conflict situation,
Yeah.
you are only thinking of yourselves and your views and what you want, but never ever forget that you are a parent, and whatever you are doing today will have a lifelong effect on your child.
Yeah.
So that is important, and how to go about it.
I think when parents are in that turmoil situation, everything else sort of like
Goes
disappear,
out. Yes,
and then you're just locked in this turmoil. Dato', so you believe I got 7 year each, 10-year each. I mean, you're the expert when it comes to the
Yeah.
legal. Like, does it happen? Do a lot of couples that come to you when they reach?
research. But
I'm just wondering
I'm
if
just
couples come when there's that 7 year of their marriage or 10 year of their marriage, and then they have issues already.
Sometimes they call it midlife crisis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But 7-year age is maybe because those days the trend used to be about 7 years, an average about 7 years. But now, like she said, it's
The age
much
is
lesser.
closer lah.
And
Yes.
now sometimes the flimsiest of reasons, our research shows sometimes it's just poor communication, financial issues, or sometimes they just
So,
fall out of
love conquers all?
Yeah.
I actually know a couple who were going out for 6 years. They've been out for 6 years and they got married. The day they got married, 6 months the marriage lasted, only for 6 months. So they were going out, I think because when they were going out, they were free and easy, they were happy, and there was no commitment and all that. When they got married, I mean, she was a bit more serious, so she realized that we were married, we have to move on and all that.
Yeah.
More committed, but he was still not ready yet. He was still living in that single lifestyle.
Yeah.
His mindset didn't change, and so they couldn't get along. And within 6 months, they got divorced.
Right.
I think it's also the increased sort of, I hate to say social acceptance, but I think the less stigma attached to divorce as there were maybe 30, 40 years ago.
Yes.
So I think a lot of, especially young couples, sort of feel less, I don't want to say less compelled, but sort of like that whole thought of, if I have to get divorced, it's not as shameful or as a big deal as probably it was in our parents' or our grandparents' time. So I think when people, I think psychologically speaking as well, when people feel that there is that option, that tends to become quite forefront in their mind, so things that probably our grandparents or our parents would have felt, this is such a small issue, like work through it. Modern day couples would probably feel, and also we have to think about social media, people airing their laundry everywhere. So things that may have been very private are now becoming very public. So stuff like that probably pushes people to think that divorce is a better option. And I guess from a kid's perspective, if you are growing up, as Anjli was saying, if you're growing up in an environment where your parents are at each other's throats all the time, it is actually healthier for the child to be raised away from that.
So okay, sorry, Dr. Anjli. Let me just tell everyone at home or at the office. Okay, I don't know whether I should say at the office watching us, but if you are watching us and you have any questions for any of our panel experts today, do just comment, because I'm checking our feed as we go along, and I'll try get our experts to answer. So that'll be great. So coming back to that topic, actually, I'm going to skip a couple of my questions and get back, because I have that question for Dr. Anjli actually.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, do you feel that the increase, I mean, you kind of hinted already just now, but now I'm going to just put it out there again. Do you feel that the social issues today amongst children and youth is mainly caused by that issue that you mentioned, that people don't take the marriage institution, the marital institution, I don't want to use the word seriously, but like a commitment that you've
with as much permanence as it would.
Yes, exactly. Do you think that that's one big reason why we have
I always believe that marriage has to be strong. The foundation has to be very strong, because then the couple relationship will translate into how you bring up your parenting, your family roles and responsibilities. And so, as I said, I really strongly advocate pre-marriage programs, and research has shown that people who go through this program, then they realize there are certain issues that you have been dating for many years, but you may not realize that his views may be different from yours. Maybe once you get married, he wants you to stop working and stay at home. Until you go for these type of programs, when you seriously discuss with, in the presence of professionals, all that, and then you realize, oh my God, his views are so different. Or he may want you to have a kid straight away, and you may say you want to wait for 3 years or 5 years. And these may look at simple, small issues, but once you get married, and suddenly it can become areas of conflict.
But for example, Dato's couple just now that he said 6 years going out. Don't you think that they would already?
You are acting sometimes in your relationship.
You know
your best foot forward. Sometimes you never.
So 6 years of putting your best foot forward. I don't know. I'm just thinking you would.
Yeah, but it's true.
I think it's also just proximity as well, because I think culturally speaking in Asia, we don't often cohabitate with our partners prior to marriage.
Yes.
So 6 years, you see each other on dates and trips and stuff, and then I go home to my personal space, and you go over there, and you don't have to live with each other all the time.
But sometimes they say that the cohabiting couples, once they get married, they are more likely to divorce.
Really?
Yeah, because the cohabiting is a different sort of scenario. Once you go into the marriage, then no more. It's like they have more issues as well. So we cannot say cohabiting before you get married is likelihood of being. So
I think
it's so many challenges.
More the commitment, because before you get married, you're not committed to the person, so you don't feel a commitment there. You're still, boyfriend, girlfriend, so you can still do whatever you want. But it becomes a bit more serious when you get married. The in-laws get involved.
Right. So that's an element that we have. That I think is a whole different ball game already when you want to talk about the in-laws getting involved and things like that.
Families and all that. So the commitment is there. So once it's there, no, you are restricted. Your movements are restricted. You can't just go on a fishing trip.
Jaga
on a
hati
weekend.
lagi.
Yes, the wife will be there saying,
There's so
fishing
many
trip is
more
important than
things
me.
involved when
Yes.
you kind of make it official.
Right. Hi, we have a guest. Dynas has made it. So I think Dynas, you can just come around. Let me just briefly introduce Dynas to everyone here.
Hi.
Yana, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yana is our child psychologist.
So,
Dynas, hi.
Dato Arunan is our divorce
Anjli.
lawyer and author. Hello. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us.
Having me.
So, okay. Maybe everyone just wants to, have a drink first or take some, it is free and easy while we sort of get Dynas up to speed. So have a drink. So I'll just recap what we've been. Yes, Dynas is here. So we've just been talking about how increase of divorce rates, how parents are dealing with going through divorce, and when you have children, what's the right way to actually. So I don't want to straight away jump on you just yet, but basically we were talking about that, and I think I just posed a question to Dr. Anjli, the fact that does she think that social issues today amongst our youth and children are caused by the rise of broken marriages? So we kind of sort of agreed that there's so many more elements when it comes to, today's marriage institution. Yeah. Because we were discussing the fact that, dulu we had that whole, everyone has this 7-year itch or 10-year itch sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
What
Dato
is that,
was
yeah?
saying...
No, because I don't know whether it's a coincidence or not, because mine was 7 too. So I was like, I did not know about that 7 thing. After it was, I was like,
but Dato says that 7 years now pun is not relevant because
Lesser
people
and
are
lesser.
people are getting divorced within less and lesser years of being married.
even not even a year pun ada kan. I'm like,
Yeah.
They haven't paid for the debts of the wedding expenditure.
Exactly.
But
So, yeah.
But just to answer, definitely in the past when they said that children who are from single parent families, the likelihood of them having behavioral problems, low self-esteem, social issues, drugs and all that sort of thing is likely to be higher. They are supposed to have more adverse outcomes compared to children who come from dual parent families. But research now has shown that it's not so much the structure of the family. What is more important is the family's functioning, relationships, communication patterns, bonding, time together. The parents' role itself is very, very critical, and how they play their roles and responsibilities out. So current research, there are factors in everybody's environment that will sort of predict or are likely to have an impact on the way the child's behavioral outcomes and what type of impact it has on the
For
child.
me, it's very easy. You don't label a certain marriages or a certain family or divorce, because the thing is, it's not something that you can learn by the book. It's not something that is supposed to be like that or like this, because different people, different problems, different
challenges.
family values, different.
Yeah.
Even if you were to ask me, how do you raise your child until your child becomes so like this? So I don't know how to answer that, because it's just a thing that we do. We want to give the best to our children, and even I'm actually quite blessed to have a ex-husband like my ex, because he is like, when it comes to kids, hands down, we have to talk about it, and then we have to really make sure this will work. And because he was also from a broken family, so he was always the one very paranoid when it comes to these things, very, very sensitive. So, but I learned a lot from him, because he doesn't want the same life like what he had before. So he is actually, I don't know, to me, a better father now, and I think I'm a better mom now, because we pay attention more towards the kids after the divorce, believe it or not. Because before, it was just work, and then yes, I was still breastfeeding my baby, so of course I had more time with the kids. But when it comes to him, he was always just about work. But now he's like totally a hands-on dad. I tell you, he knows every single thing about them. And sometimes now I ask him, like, the kids now, what do they like? What color do they like? Or what kind of food do they like? I ask him now. Before this, he'll be like clueless, like, mami lah.
we were talking about like having to break the news to the children when parents decide to get divorced. You know, breaking the news to children to your kids, was it difficult? Were they old enough? They were so young. All right. But did you have to do the whole sit down and
No, because it was already a while that they can feel it. They kind of know it already because I wasn't there anymore, and we don't have the same relationship like when we were before, when we were still married. I mean, we were still married at that time, but we already did have a problem, so we don't communicate anymore. Even though when they're young, they're 1 and 3 years old, but still, especially Kyra, I think she understands. 3 years old, she does understand, and she saw everything. So, and I'm sure she remembers.
Okay.
She's a really smart girl, and until today she doesn't really ask why, but my son now, he asks like, why why you not staying with us, like why you got married already, why
Right.
I think but usually they say depending on the child, so it has to be like age appropriate type of telling them, but you don't have to give them too many details about it, but at least as they come together and talk to them. Sometimes even a child who is 1-2 years old, they don't understand, but they can be missing the parent and all that. So maybe it's just to spend more time with them, be there together. You may not be all the time 24/7, but at least whatever age group the child is, but I think it's they can sense it, they can feel it. But especially if it's a teenager, then it'll be that's the time they are falling in love and going into relationship, and suddenly they can be disillusioned if they see their parents coming to them and telling them that so and they show up in behavior. So, but if it's possible, it's good to talk to them, or maybe just let them know at least, and not too much information unless they ask questions. But at least they see you as you are still their parents. And
because children these days, they're very intelligent. So they can sense it, they know. So parents who try to hide that from the children and say, no, don't worry, nothing's happening. They know something's happening. So why lie to them? So they can sense it. So what they need is the love, the security, the assurance. As long as you can give them that and tell them, don't worry, we love you the same, everything is there, and then they're okay. And the other problem is sometimes they're okay, and when they go to school and they see other parents coming, the father's coming, and the children are talking about, we went out with mom and dad to Sunway Lagoon yesterday. Then they're wondering, how come I'm always with mom, with dad? So they come back, they ask that question. So if they know at a young age the exact position, so they'll be able to handle the position.
I have that problem now. Because Kyra now, she gets bullied in school.
Right.
And I was a bit worried because it's like, because the bullying thing is also a big issue now, right?
So she's being bullied for?
Being bullied
just
because she's
picking
picking on her, and I think it's not helping that the mom is a celebrity. So kids get jealous, and then when she brings something that is new in school, and then
Kids say nasty things.
and these are girls though, not guys. These are girls. And one girl actually said something to her, which because she's very sensitive when it comes to mom and dad, So the kid, when what did she say? She said, Kyra, I'm so sorry for you. And then she asked why? Because you don't have parents.
She said that?
So she just kept quiet tau, and she's not the type who like cry or whatever, but it hits her to the heart. So she went back and she was so upset. She was like so down and all that. So the father asked, she's like, what's wrong? So she said that to the father. straight away the father called me. So I had to have that sit down thing to tell her, like, you have to think further. You have to think. You have to see it in the bigger picture. Maybe she's also unhappy at home, or maybe her parents is together but they're working all the time. So she just wants to hurt someone, and that someone is just you. You know.
Yeah. Yana, you have any advice for Dynas? How to handle, like, if it was picking on, like...
This is never fun. Every time I hear about a child getting picked on, and you can't get upset with the other child because they're not really developmentally able to, you know. So it's kind of very heartbreaking because, like you said, like, even though they're not able to, and I think it's because they're young, they're not able to come up with the logic of being like, so it's okay, you can say I don't have parents, but you know, they're not able to. So when a child comes up to you and says that, that's pretty heartbreaking, you know. And so I think, like, the best advice, I couldn't change very much from what you've done, because I think what is really important in that instance is for her to realize, okay, this other child said that I don't have parents, right? And there could be multiple reasons why she felt the need to take that out on you. But I think what's more important is for you to realize and for you to feel that you still have a mom and dad that cares for you. You still get all the stuff that you want, and you still have,
that's
you know,
exactly what I said to her. I said, Kara, am I not giving you enough? Like, tell me if I'm not, you know. To be honest, I mean, I was like, I asked her, I said, I take you out, you know, we go holidays together. I know we don't go holidays with Dad, but we do go. Think of it in a bright side where you get 2 holidays.
That's actually something that I've said in session as well.
You get 2 birthday presents. You know,
Yeah.
you get all A's, you get 2 presents.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like,
That's definitely something, is for them to kind of realize, like, you know, like, okay, fine, I don't meet the conventional standards of what mom and dad is, but I am so lucky because I get 2 holidays and 2 presents, and you know. And so that's something that I've actually heard parents say, and something I've actually said in session as well with some kids, is because we're wanting them to, again, there's that acceptance of different family structures, how it can maybe just be mom and your grandparents, or it could be no parents and alternate caregivers. But that doesn't negate the fact that you have a family who loves you and supports you, and you know. And so I think that, you know, that's kind of where we want to stress, is to have the child or the children understand that, okay, so may not have mom and dad at home together, but I'm so much more blessed because I have different things, you know. So I think that's pretty much the message that I would.
Okay, we kind of have neglected the tea, so maybe we'll break for like have a drink. I know you had a good tea yesterday as well.
Yes,
I saw that.
I did.
So we'll help yourself, and we will continue in a bit. I have a couple more questions, and then unfortunately our session ends because it's a half an hour session. I wish we could talk longer. We can talk longer. But
but you won't see it lah.
But maybe you watch it. So, I mean, sila. I also don't know what to eat first. Everything looks really good.
That's mine.
You know, I've seen a couple of struggles, but you know, even like for parents, you know, just now earlier we were talking about how parents, when they decide about divorce, it's usually very personal, meaning they think about, like, yes, I have this issue and I need to resolve it, and divorce is the way out. But Dato, your cases you've dealt with, I'm sure over so many years you've dealt with so many cases. Can you share with us, like, how to avoid those critical situations lah? I mean, you know, if people are watching, and people will watch this because we'll share the video, you know, on our social platforms. How do we avoid getting into messy situations when it comes to divorce?
It's actually
what are the key things that you should have?
The mindset. You know, sometimes some of the clients I meet, it's like, you know, they're in so much of pain because this is not physical pain, it's the emotional pain. They have to go through a long time, you know, the whole divorce process. And sometimes because they're upset with the other party, they want to use a lot of emotional blackmail, and they do a lot of things purposely to to irritate the other party, and so so it's very difficult for them to move on, and sometimes it's so painful that they can't even concentrate at the office, they can't focus at work, and they go back home, and then the children tell them all kind of things that the father said or the mother said. So it's difficult for them to actually move on. But at the end of the day, both parties, they are mature enough to really discuss it and say, look, let's just seriously move on, and for you to be happy and for me to be happy, let's just do this and get things done right. It'll really go on smoothly. But there's a lot of grudges, they're just keeping it, and that's the thing that makes it difficult. You see, you are upset about something else, and then you want to take it on to the spouse. So that makes it difficult for them to move on. And the kids are the one, because you got kids, if you don't have kids, it's a different issue. So the kids are the one who are going to suffer. So it's I've seen couples who are, 5-6 years of the marriage, and I know a guy who actually quit his full-time job just to irritate the mother.
What?
Just to irritate, because he has to pay maintenance. He quit his job, said that, look, I got no money to pay maintenance, and he goes to the school. He joined the PIBG deliberately because the mother is the teacher in that school. Kids are there.
God! Wow, that's like
Yes,
So much
and then
effort.
Psycho.
It's just like stalking her. It's like no life. So imagine the things they have to go through.
Yeah.
And he wants to know everything about the kids, for them a smartphone, and then to get them to FaceTime, basically not because he's interested in them, but to see what's in the house, and things like that. So you have people with this kind of mentality. They can't let go. Sometimes some people got the ego issue, and they can't accept, especially some men can't accept the wife doing very well.
Yeah.
After that, they want to see the person like, without me you can't move on. So they want to see that. So some women, they tend to show them that I'm suffering, but some women who move on get better, and then the husband gets angry and makes life difficult for them.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
So how do you like handle cases like this? What do you advise your client actually? Yeah. Which one is your client, the wife?
Both sides.
No,
of course, I will. Most of the time, I when they come to see me, I will tell them, I will advise them. Not the difficult ones who are trying to be difficult, nasty, because I don't take that kind of clients.
Okay.
But my clients, I will ask them to try their best to regulate their emotions, control their mindset, and try their best to see how they can resolve it, to talk to the spouse. But if they can't do that, then I think you have to accept the situation. See, when you don't accept the situation, that's when there's a problem. See, you always retaliate, you start fighting back, you can't fight back, and you get emotional. So you accept it, you say, look, this guy, there's no way I'm going to change this guy. He's going to be always like this. I have to accept it, talk to the kids, move on, carry on with your life. That's the best way to do it.
In that context, it's like, I know nobody wants to have a divorce or be separated, but sometimes it's just you can't avoid it and it happens. But as I always say, you must bear in mind that maybe it cannot be salvage the marriage, or go for counselling and get help before you finally make the decision that you have to live separately. But always keeping in mind that you have children and they are part of you, and make sure that whatever you do today will have an impact on their future as well, their well-being, their development and all that. So I always feel the other option would be even to go for mediation, because you decided to divorce, but rather than washing dirty linen in court, better have mediation as well, and then discuss on your future plans with in the context of the child. Have a parenting plan where you, in terms of visitation, in terms of maintenance, if you can discuss together in the presence of a professional, then when you have to go to court and formalize the divorce, at least all these things are discussed and you have an agreement, and the child also will feel secure that you are still thinking of him, you still love him, your best interest,
You have to think about it yourself and not get your family involved. Then it will confuse you. That's also a problem.
One of our surveys we do, and it shows that one of the factors is these in-law issues, especially I mean, maybe.
But I didn't have that problem lah. Thank God, you know.
If you live with your in-laws and all that, sometimes
Yeah.
they say the involvement of in-laws also can contribute to issues as well. You know, but we can't say that it's a big factor. But I always say that every problem there is a solution, and it's only your desire to come to a solution, to work together, reduce conflict, and decide on what is the best options available. So. You know, and like Dato said, you are angry, you are stressed, you want to hatred maybe, especially if you are the one who didn't initiate the divorce. The other one may be slightly better off because initiated, maybe already have somebody else, the mind is made up. One person who is not the initiator might feel more stressed out, unexpected, maybe a real shock and all that. Maybe especially if you don't have income, you're staying at home and you've given up your career to take care of your kid and all that. What happens to that, you know? So that person's feelings may be different, but they have to go through the cycle of the grief, the acceptance, moving on with life and all that, you know. So, and that is ultimately will benefit that couple as well as your child.
One very important factor I want to just say is that a lot of parents, especially mothers, they say, you know, I'm just going to stay in this marriage because for the children's sake.
Oh yeah, my mom said that.
Okay, that's really not healthy. If you, I mean, you also have to think of yourself. And a lot of people, they just sacrifice, and then when they are 50, 60 years old, and then they realize that they wasted a lot of the time. If the marriage is not healthy and is really not good for you, and it's not good for you, it's not good for the children. So
If you're
it's
not
time
happy,
to move out.
then you're not going to be treating
This
the
is a
kids.
trend which is happening in Japan. You know, they call it the silver hair divorces. Where
The silver hair.
silver hair because
When they're
at the
older.
50s, 60s, because
They realize that
the
the
women-
kids, we're not worried about the kids
and
anymore, so
and
let's.
usually it's the women who says bye bye because they have you know, men work long hours, they come back very late, hardly really spend time with the child, and these women, they sacrifice, they stay at home, they take care of the kids, and then once the kids are grown up and independent, all they say bye bye to their spouse. They have sacrificed and they want to have their own life, you know, and comes so that's a
What's that called again?
silver hair divorces.
Silver hair divorces.
In Japan, they
Not
don't
here
celebrate
yet.
the divorce.
Yeah, so
So you know what they do at the end? You know, when you get divorced, they call the same people who came for the wedding to say like, you know, see, they're being very positive about it.
Yeah.
So to
Right.
let you know that, you know, now
We're
new
celebrating
line-
our
yes.
divorce.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's
Because
a
we're
positive
fine with it.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think if I just had to like add anything to everything that has been said, I think that I'm thoroughly embracing the fact that I think we've repeated it many times. Kids who come from single parent households can grow up to become fully functioning, fully, you know, successful people in society. So there's no longer that connotation of if you come from a broken home, you have no future or you're going to end up getting in trouble. That's definitely not something that we talk about anymore. But I guess in my profession, I've seen quite a fair bit of the downside.
Right.
And so if I had to add anything at all to this is that I think parents who are undergoing divorce, you are at a juncture with regards to how your child is going to develop. You are single-handedly going to be a pivotal part of how this child develops. He can either change the world or he can go down this very, very slippery slope. And I've had 5 or 6-year-olds tell me the most heartbreaking things that they've heard their parents say to them.
To them.
Around them, to them. And I've actually gotten very and I'm the psychologist, we don't get emotional. But I have actually gotten very emotional around, 7-year-olds, 6-year-olds who tell me things that they've had their parents say to them, a lot of the time in anger, a lot of the time because they're trying to take it out on their other spouse. But these children remember it, and these children carry it with them. And so I think that, I currently work with a lot of children who are going through really bad divorces with the parents, really bad custody battles. And I've heard some very, very frustrating and heartbreaking things. And so if I could add anything at all, it's just to remember when you're going through a divorce, this is very much something that's happening between you and your husband. And your kids should not be privy to that. Your kids should not feel like they're responsible, that they've contributed, that they are going to exacerbate a situation at all. And I think that's the thing that we have to drill in, and that should be the thing you push for. Because the things that they say, it's just, as an adult, it's not directed at them. But when a 6-year-old, or when a child, gets told by the parent, like, you're only here because I collect maintenance from your father. stuff like that. And that's just the tip of the things I've heard. You can't even imagine how that affects what they become when they become older.
Yeah.
So that's. Yeah.
What about you, Dynas? Sorry, Dr. You said that you've had from your divorce, it's been okay, good relationship with your ex-husband. What's your advice to women, especially who are going through divorce right now? What is your advice when it comes to dealing with the spouse? And you had kids as well when you went through divorce, so you got to a good space right now.
Yeah.
So what's your advice? What's your advice for women out there that are struggling?
My advice is that, number one, don't get any other people involved in your problems, because only you know, only you and your ex-husband know the real truth of what's going on. So don't listen to anyone else, not even your parents. I know they will try to advise, but the thing is, by the end of the day, it will only confuse yourself. So that's number one. Okay, number two, you have to always think positive and always think about your kids. Like, yes, I said I asked for the divorce, and a lot of people say, if you think about your kids, then you shouldn't have. So then I tell them, I said, if I'm not happy, then my kids won't be happy too, because they can see that mommy's not happy. So where does that lead? And I asked them that, and then they were like, okay, fine. So it's like sometimes they can say things, but they don't understand. So only you understand. So don't listen to people. So try to just focus on yourself and just be selfish, to just think about yourself first. There must be a reason why in an aeroplane, right, they say save yourself first, then you save your child.
Yeah.
Right or not? So you have to save yourself first. You have to make sure that you're happy, so then you can spread the love better.
Yeah.
That's a very good aeroplane theory.
Yeah.
I always say that. I say, think. Why do they ask to save you first, and then you save your child?
Yeah.
No matter if you're a mom, you have to save yourself.
So that metaphor actually applies to so many things,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
As parents,
Yes.
I think that applies. Last words, last advice from Dato. Anything you want to say, and then we'll go to Dr. Anjli.
Yeah, I mean, to state again, like what she said just now, end of the day, taking care of yourself, it's so important, and paramount consideration is children. Don't use children as instruments,
Right.
and for whatever reasons, and try your best. Sometimes you listen to third parties, you get other people involved, parents and all, they will never know the exact situation.
Right.
And a lot of people, because of modern technology now, a lot of people just
Ask on social
everything-
media what they should
yeah.
do
Yeah.
sometimes.
and call through WhatsApp.
And
It is
everything
irritating.
is recorded.
Anything your husband is having an affair, if someone saw somewhere, you send a message, where were you? And
Right.
he says something else and you get upset, said, oh, that's it, he's lying. Why don't you confront him face to face? It could be something else, you see. And people, I have a client who doesn't even want to meet the husband at all. She came up with this conclusion, he's having an affair. And I told her, see him face to face and ask him. She didn't want to. Later she realized after the divorce she made a mistake. You see?
Oh my God.
And because a lot of people nowadays, they don't want to confront. They just don't like that. Everything is through WhatsApp and they make the decision.
And when you read through WhatsApp, sometimes you
Yeah.
read it wrongly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tonation.
Yeah, you can't get the intonation, right?
You think, oh my God, he's so angry with me, but actually it's not.
Yeah.
You see, so
I don't have enough time to type the whole sentence out.
So I think we have to go back to what we used to the old days.
Talk to each other.
Yes.
and go back to simple, basic things and try to sort things
It's
out.
an addiction now. Really, you can chill
It's
and
the
have
best
coffee,
ever.
and then everyone will be on the phone.
It is the best and worst invention ever. Technology. It is.
Okay. Dr. Anjli, what is your advice?
My advice is
How do we save more families? If I can, I also want to be like, let's save the world sort of person. Yeah, but how?
I think, as I said at the beginning as well, preparation is very, very important. Yeah, take it. It's a serious issue. There's no escape clause once you're married.
And it's not taboo.
Do your
it's
best.
Not taboo.
Yeah.
It's not taboo to get counselling. It's not taboo to
Ask
ask for help or advice, right?
Yes, definitely. And
There's
I think
so many outlets,
before
right?
your issues come out as well. Dynas was saying that don't listen to other people, but to me, sometimes you can listen but make your own decisions on what's, you can get advice, but you don't have to follow it 100%. And based on my research as well in single parent families, we find that they are at risk at negative outcomes. Not everybody will have that same negative outcomes, but very, very important is the self-esteem of the mother, the social support, the parenting behavior as well. That's very important, which will have an impact on the child's overall development, behavior, emotional strength, resilience, and all that. So when you were talking about your daughter going into school, she's learning how to cope with issues and challenges. There will be all kinds of challenges, and so we are teaching them those skills. And sometimes even you say single parent, you have commuter families where due to work, father is in Penang, mother is in Kelantan. There's one form of single parent. Of course, with technology, use it for communication, keeping in touch, WhatsApp, telephone, FaceTime, all that. So, like you said, it's the best invention if you use it properly. But very, very important is have a parenting plan, go for mediation, counseling as well, and always do not use your child as a bargaining tool or to vent your anger and all that. You love your child, and you talk bad about your spouse to your child. Remember that half of it is from your genes too. Think of that. You don't have to forget about your spouse, but your child is your child, and make sure you do it for the optimum development.
For
of
me,
your child.
right, don't feel as a mother, don't feel bad if you only have 1 hour to spend time with your child in a day, because you will give your all for that 1 hour. It's different, when you are at home in the same house the whole day, but you don't really communicate anyway with the child. But when you go out and you only have that limited time,
Precious time.
precious time. So you really put
precious
100% effort,
time.
and you really pay attention to them for that 1 hour. I think that 1 hour is more than the whole day with them at home, and not
interacting and bonding.
Okay, so our session is over.
Oh no!
Thank you so much, Dato, Katyana, Dynas. Thank you so much, Dr. Anjli. We might continue chatting, but we're going offline now. So thank you for joining us. You can keep watching the clip later on. We'll post it on our timeline. So if you do still have any questions, do write it in the comment section. We'll try and get our experts to answer anyway offline, and we will post it up on a Facebook or a web story. So till the next hangout, thank you. Thanks for joining.